All right, it is Friday, November 20th, and we're going live. Um, so I gave a session at ColdFusion Summit 2020 about building tools and automations with CommandBox. And so I thought it would be worthwhile to just dive in and do a live coding session where I build a tool with CommandBox. So I'm going to be working on a custom command to generate Markdown documentation from CFCs. I write a lot of API wrappers, and doing the documentation is one of the biggest pains. So my goal is just to make my own life easier. So I'll get started. Now I'm in CommandBox right now, and I had put together a previous custom command for scaffolding these custom commands. So that one was called, I don't remember, so I'm going to write help. That one was called command scaffold. So we'll do command scaffold. And then I got a bunch of things here. So the name of my command is going to be, oh, wow, I wrote down a note because I had an idea for what I was going to call it. And that note says that I was going to call it Markdown Doc. So we'll call it Markdown Doc. So that's what we're going to type in order to run it once it's up and running. Um, the name will be CommandBox CFC to Markdown docs. I don't know, decent shot. Description is going to be generate Markdown documentation from your CFCs. And then finally, I'm not going to do a namespace, but I will do the package link, so we'll be up and running and able to use it right away. Going to run that scaffolding command, and that should be linked now. So let's see what we got here. All right, so that directory that I scaffold there is where we will be building the command. So I'm going to cd into that. And what did I call it? I called it Markdown doc. So you'll see that that was scaffolded already. So I'm going to control out of that and open up what we scaffolded there in VS Code. Okay, we've got our command. Oops, we got our command. It's Markdown doc, and we're going to start filling this out. Now, where I'm coming from with this was a couple weeks ago, I put together an EverSign CFC wrapper, and while working on it, I put together some code that read the CFC and generated the docs. ColdFusion makes it easy. So I have some code here in place. I'm going to grab what I have and then go through it because I don't remember exactly what I did. I mean, this was a couple weeks ago. But I know that a bunch of the, and then I'm going to have to var scope it like crazy because this was just in a regular CFM file. So this is what's going to end up in here. You know what? That's a lousy way to start. I'm going to start with the file that gets parsed. So what are we going to do? We're going to pass in required. No, it's not going to be required. We're going to have a string source, and that's going to default to the current working directory. So we'll just default it to blank. No, how do we do it? So, like I said, I need to go to the CommandBox docs here. So let me grab, all right, that's not the CommandBox docs, commandbox.ortusbooks.com. There is a way to do file paths in tab completion, and I just don't remember it off the top of my head, which is why we have the docs. Directory. All right, let's go here. Helpful commands, deploying, developing, using aliases, commands. Oh, I wanted to add an alias, but not right away. Parameters, file globs. Is this what I wanted? No. There's dynamic parameter file system path. If your command, you want to resolve that, use resolve path. There's a handful, and this is in the docs here somewhere. Maybe it's with tab completion, where CommandBox. Oh, there we go. Okay. When a user hits tab, parameters with directory, destination, file, or path in their names will automatically be given file path suggestions. So we'll start with path here, because that's going to give us, all right, param1 is path.hint, and this will be the CFC that you want to generate documentation for. Now, I mean, I'm going to make this and I'm going to get it working, and then I'll refine it, see if we want it to be able to handle multiple files or a directory or stuff like that. But I just want to get it working first. So, okay, that's the CFC that we want to generate documentation for. And I'm going to want that to default to the current working directory. Okay, let's see what this says. If you have a parameter that doesn't contain one of the keywords above, okay, so we don't need to do that. Let's just get that working and echo it back. Let's just return that path. Okay, docs, always important. Generate Markdown from, I'll fill this out more later, from your CFCs. This is how you call it, Markdown doc path. Yeah, you're gonna actually this is gonna be required. It can't just be, you have to point it to an actual CFC. So required string path is how that's gonna work, and then we're gonna return the path. So we can hop down to the terminal here, make this bigger, and this way I actually don't need to go back to iTerm. I can just run CommandBox within VS Code and all is well. All right, so we've got Markdown doc, param1, didn't reload. That's the tricky part. Although that should have, we'll see. Did I save that? Markdown doc. Nice, okay, that's working. So when I run Markdown doc, it knows that I'm doing file completion. So it sees that module config CFC, and it echoes it back to me. So that part is working like we want it to. Now I forget how to do, because we only want this to work on CFCs. So the first thing that we'll say is, if it's not a CFC, we're going to throw an error. And I'm embarrassing myself here. Well, I know I can do if path.listLast dot equals, does not equal CFC. I think that should actually work. I don't know if that's the best way to determine, but that's a decent way to determine if it's a CFC. I'm going to look at error handling in the CommandBox docs now. I think I can just, okay, error, perfect. Error. Yeah, that's fine. Error. You can only run this command on CFCs. All right, reload. And we'll do Markdown doc, and we'll run it on the box.json, and we got a nice error there. You can only run it on CFCs. Perfect. And if we do Markdown doc on module config, there's no error. Nice. That's what we want. Okay. Now, I guess we'll get it reading this and generating the docs. And then, so one of my questions, and I haven't honestly figured this out, is whether I want this to generate a CFC or whether I want it to print the docs to the console. I probably want it to generate a CFC by default. I'm not positive, you know. So we'll say Boolean generate file. Generate, I don't like this name. It's true. And in here, we're going to say, oops, path, not path, generate file dot hint. Okay. Generate a markdown file with the documentation default true. I guess maybe it'll print it out and generate the file. Not sure. Okay, so that's our file. Let's grab the this code here, and then we'll start actually getting this to work. A lot of stuff here, a lot of code. All right, so the first thing I did was grab the properties. So we're going to say var properties will get metadata. I'm going to delete a lot of this and end up pasting it back in. Get metadata from the path.properties, and then I reduce it. Why do I reduce it here? Because I just want the names of the properties. I don't remember why I just want the names of the properties. Why? You know, we'll find out. So that's going to give me an array of the property names from the CFC. Then, so where did let's find out where I was using properties. Properties. Okay, I'm excluding the properties from what I generate. That's how. So, you know, there'll probably be an option for including or excluding properties, but generally, at least when I'm doing this and I'm generating docs, I don't want docs there for the properties. I only want them for the functions that are within the CFC. So, you know, I'll make a note for myself. We get a list of the properties here to exclude from the generated documentation. Cool. Properties are excluded. That's all good. So then we're going to grab the functions from the CFC. And in here, we have a list of functions that we are excluding. So we're excluding private functions, and we're excluding the init method. Now, this is the kind of thing where I also probably want to make this configurable, but for now, I'm just going to make a note. Exclude. We should probably have a list of methods that can be configured and that should be excluded from this. But for now, exclude init method and exclude private methods. That one will probably just stay as is. Then we exclude the generated getters and setters. So what's the deal with this? If item.key exists, hint. No, if hint doesn't exist and the name is greater than 3. Okay, so we're checking, obviously, get and set are 3 letters long, so we're checking for that. Then we check if those 3 letters are get and set. And then we extract the property from the name, and if it is in the properties list, we don't include it. So that's what's going on there. And then I think everything else is done. So that's how we're filtering out. Okay. Get our function list by filtering out unwanted methods. So those are all our functions. So this is just cleaning up the CFC for what we actually want to work with here. Don't need that. All right, for var f in functions, so we're going to loop now, and we are going to check the function for parameters. And then, okay, so we're going to do some big reduction here on the params. I think that is, where are we going from here? From here to here. Just a note for myself because the screen is small. And param check. All right. I'm gonna, even though this isn't a. So in the params, if it's required, I think we're starting with blank, we're adding, okay. So the way that I generate these docs, I think it would probably be easier if I showed the EverSign CFC. So let's go to github.com/mj, can't spell my own name, j.com/EverSign CFC. Zoom in a little more. The docs here, this documentation, is what I generated with the method from the CFM file. So what it's putting together here is this required string document hash portion. Now, ultimately, I think there's probably going to be a better way to do this, but you have to start somewhere. So that's what we're doing here. Right. So let's hop back to our code and make a note so that when I come back to this, I know what's going on. This is generating the params, whether they're required, and their defaults. So param, okay, so if it's required, we put required there. So var param, item not required. Its type is what, Boolean, string, whatever, the name of the param. If default is there, if it is Boolean or numeric, we put the default there just next to it. Otherwise, we wrap the default in strings. Finally, we append the param to the result. And if it is the last one if it's not the last one in the list, we also append a comma. So this builds our param string. And this could be handled in a different way, whatever. Perfection is the enemy of the good of our param hits. So the reason I had this here was I don't want to just generate help for the functions, but also if there's hints that I add for the parameters, I want that included in the documentation. So I'm looping over the parameters here. If they have a hint, adding the hint after the parameter name. Okay, so where am I? Do I grab? Oh, so that gives me an array of param hints. And then this is where I was actually outputting the code. So this ultimately, I think, could be turned into some type of template that you could configure. But this is my default one. So, okay. I would be, first of all, I'd be printing the, so what I probably want to do is save content, save this, and then write it to a file and optionally print it to the terminal. So CF save content, I never remember docs.org/CF save content. Its script format gets me all the time. All right. So we're going to say var doc var markdown equals nothing, then markdown. I'll go here. I'm going to grab all of this. Put it in here, and then I'm going to go through and see what I'm actually doing in this code before I save it. All right, that's the end of my save content. So var markdown. So I'm outputting, so this is my header level, and I guess I'm making these, this is CF, so that's 1, 2, 3, 4. Those are, it's an H4 header. I'm putting in the function name and then followed by the params. Now, interesting, I'm putting in a line break there. I don't actually want a line break there, I don't think, so I'm going to remove that. I'm going to want a new line, so we'll see how we, how is, you know, it's gotta do it and then see how this is generated, and then I'll probably add in new lines as needed. Let's just see what happens with that. You know, let's see what happens if I don't do that. Then I have the function hint I output here, and if it, am I in a loop here? Yes, because I'm still in my function loop. Okay, so I'm grabbing my function. It's my var f. If my function name, put together the params. If the function has a hint, if it ends in a period, if it doesn't end in a period, I do my own period. Otherwise, I don't put anything there because it's ending in a period itself. I'm trimming my hints. If they're there, then I put my param hints there after the function hint. And so then this, and this is, you know what we'll do? We'll say, instead of endpoint docs, we'll say further docs. What I started doing, and you can see this in EverSign, this made my life a lot easier, was I standardized how I referenced the API documentation with an @docs hint. And that way, when I loop over this, I know if that docs hint is there, I can use it in my documentation. So if docs exists on the function, I'm going to output, further docs isn't the best name for that, but you know what? I don't know what is yet. So, all right, H4 header, doc keyword, output that all. And that's the end of my save content. So I wonder what's going to happen. It's going to return nothing. I got the print helper, so I'm going to print dot. Oh, I wonder. I don't think CommandBox has a pretty. How does the CF docs command work? Let's hop back here. CF. Do I have CF docs installed? I don't think I do. Install CF docs. I forget how CF docs outputs the documentation. So CF docs doc CF output. So it does, so for the terminal, yeah, it does its own bolding and stuff, but it's not, parsing Markdown. All right, well, I'm gonna need to save this to a file. So, okay, print helper. Talking to myself a lot here. We'll hop over to CommandBox, find our print helper because I don't remember anything off the top of my head. I know I can do print.line. Print helper. So maybe print.line is what I actually wanted. We'll say print.line, ling, line, markdown. But I need to save. So this, okay, we're going to do this first. It's going to look gross, but I'm going to make sure that it's working. There's probably going to be nothing for okay, markdown, doc, module config CFC. Broken. All right, no matching properties found in class. So that's important to check for. All right. No property. Okay. Oh. All right. Let's get our method up here. We're going to say var metadata equals get metadata path. Then this is only going to happen if we'll var properties out to be an empty array. And then we'll say if metadata.key exists properties. It's actually a helpful test there. And then we'll grab our properties, and we'll need to do the same thing, I suppose, with functions. Although I suppose they're also significantly less likely not to exist if you're trying to generate documentation. Oops. And I don't know how this would actually ultimately play out. If I guess nothing would get generated. You get a blank CFC probably. All right. Let's just collapse this whole thing. If metadata.key exists, functions. All right. Then nothing's going to happen there in that loop. Where's the? Am I still in? Oh. All right. So I messed this up with my save content because I'm still in my loop here. All right. Good catch. I'm going to cut this out. I have to do this slightly differently. This is the end of my function loop, I believe. Yeah. End of function loop. So ultimately, I'm going to want to save it here, but this is probably not how it's actually going to happen. All right, because this happens within each. All right, so var markdown is going to go to the top. I suppose this doesn't necessarily need to be a loop. I could use a reduce here and say that, all right, let's try to be fancy. Var markdown equals functions dot reduce. And then we will say, we're going to go all arrow function here. Result, item, index. Not because we need to, but because we can. And we'll default that to blank. End that. We know we're going to return the result. All right, and then I'm going to grab pretty much everything. is functions an array or a struct? I'm treating it. I think it's an array of structs. Okay. So we'll just call that F to make our lives easier. We'll collapse this. We'll collapse that. It's the end of the function loop. So I got to grab these out of here. Get rid of that. Remove this. All right. So this is now going to happen within here. Got to adjust my indentations. Let's line that up with the return. And what do we got here? Oh, this is all messed up. Let's bring that all the way back. Oops. All right. Is that where we want everything? That looks right. Okay. A lot going on in here. Var params, we have F here. I don't think we really need that index. Maybe we will for the end of the file. Result. So this generates the params again. That's all good. That's generating our hints. And then the result is actually going to be, okay, so all of this write output is we're going to change to be stuff that we're appending to that markdown result. And we're going to do that before we return it. See if this works. All right. Result. Now, yeah, I'm going to do it this way. Result n equals. We'll grab everything that we were writing here. And we'll do the same thing again with this long mess. Instead of writing it out. That seems fine. Get rid of these. And then we'll say, yep, if key exists docs, then we will add that to the end of our result. Cool. Looks nice. Don't need that write output. And then we will return the result for the next row. Okay. Did a lot there. Now, actually, while we're in here, before we reload, I want to alias this command, alias, which I think is on the component. Yeah, aliases. Nice. Okay, component, aliases. So this is markdown doc, and I want to alias it as MDD. All right, cool. T, reload. Okay, clear. So now I can do MDD, since that's my alias. I can go to module config, and it's still broken. Why did it break? No matching method function for class key exists string found line 26. All right. Metadata.key exists. What? Let's just, can I just print metadata? I don't know. And then return. Actually, I probably just return metadata. I think CommandBox will serialize that for me. So let's see what I'm doing wrong here. MDD, module config. All right, I may have exploded CommandBox. I think I exploded CommandBox by passing that into it. probably not the best way to do that. All right. Can I just kill that? Will you let me kill that command box? No. All right. Let's hop back. Let that explode. All right. What were we doing in here? Metadata equals get metadata path. All right. So let's go to CFDocs for a sec. 2, 3. Get component metadata. That takes the path. That might be the actual one that I want. Yeah, that's the one that I want. That's the one that I want. All right, let's see. Let's see if let's see, quit. Command box. You're killing me here. I'm gonna just trash that terminal session, start up a new one. Hope nothing's still floating around. Okay, clear, MDD, module config, nice. At least it's broken. Invalid component definition, can't find, oh, I probably need the absolute. That's why we have command box. So what do we need? We need to use, all right, using parameters, dynamic file system. So I need to do resolve path. All right, resolve path. And then we will reload. And maybe it'll work this time. Clear MDD module config. Still broken this time because invalid component definition, can't find component. That's strange. I mean, I think that's where it is. Uses member. MD. PWD. LS. Huh. That's interesting because that, invalid component definition, can't find component. Yeah, if I just open this, it's definitely here. Within my project. Let me just, okay. Interesting. MD command box CFC to Markdown docs, module config.cfc. All right, so let's see. Maybe we need a relative path. I'm not sure what command box and or ColdFusion is looking for there. The dot delimited path to the interface or CFC definition. Okay. All right. You should, there. Yeah, you can go up all the way. Nice. Down, up, down. Don't need you. All right. Resolve path. All right. So I like sticking things all in the same function, but I'm not going to do that here. Let's just see if we can do var dot path equals replace no, I like member functions. Replace no case, and we want to replace the, oh, this could be different whether we're on, all right. This could be different whether I'm on Windows or Mac. Interesting. Metadata, package metadata, advanced metadata. I'm just wondering. Oh, but okay. Resolve path accounts for the file system. So wait, okay. Resolve path will make file system paths canonical and absolute. All right. So, I'm not sure. Let me just try to get this working with my Mac, and then I'll account for other platforms, just because I don't even know if I can do it this way, if ColdFusion is going to accept accept this dotted path. And this might throw a whole wrinkle in me doing it this way. I'm sure there's a way I can. All right. Reload. I should probably print out what that's doing, but I'm just going to try to run it first. MDD, module config, broken, invalid component, can't find. Okay, we got the first dot, which we wouldn't do. Interesting. Well, I'm going to hack at this first, and then I'm going to clean it up. Dot path equals dot path, consistent casing, dot place, no case. I'm just going to get rid of that first dot. Not the most elegant way to do it, but I just want to see if removing that, did not like that. Killed CommandBox. Invalid construct. Okay. That's not an ever sign. All right. Dot path equals dot path dot replace no case. Extra comma. Okay. Reload. MDD. Module config. Still broken, so it just does not. All right. So I'm going to try hard coding this. Well, yeah, I'm going to just try hard coding this first. Get rid of these. Well, it should. That's where the command is. I don't think this is going to work, but I think I'm going to have to tackle this in some different way. And so that means it can't find it. All right, so let's see if we have any tips. Two approaches here. One is just seeing if there's any file system tips in here. The next one is to go into the actual, look at some existing commands and see if I can see how, if and how, I'm just going to do that first actually rather than digging through. I'm going to grab get component metadata and Watchers, shell integration, running other commands, ad hoc jars, command output, tab completion help, interactivity. I don't want interactivity. I don't want shell integration, air handles, watch, and ad hoc jars. Interceptors, injection DSL. I might want this. Okay. All right. The command box config. I mean, I should be able to pass command box a path to this jar. Module settings, all config settings, deep config settings, custom models, formatter util, module service, config service, shell. All right, I'm gonna hop over to command box itself. Search command box. Not within MJ Clemente. I want to search within GitHub. All right, order solutions, command box. Now I'll search within the repository. ORM. So this is in the ColdBox command. I think they're generating the actual entity CFC. So it's only used 3 times here. Wirebox has a util. Get absolute path. In through. Okay, let's just find out where get component metadata is being used. Get inherited metadata. Convert to ColdBox. Not what I'm looking for, not what I'm looking for. All right, so that's not particularly helpful. I need to find a way. Let's look at the Lucy docs for this. Gets the metadata for a CFC or interface. And that didn't work. This is not a rabbit hole I thought I was going to end up going down. Okay. Is it the dashes? You can't have dashes in the... I forget how that works. I have to put it in quotes? Maybe I have to put it in quotes. Let's try that. Let's just... I forget the exact way to do this. All right, so we're going to throw this in here. We're going to throw this in here. We're going to say users. Just give it the Matthew. Projects. Demos. Yeah. I've had to look at this before. All right, let's try that. Let's see if it works. MDD, actually it doesn't really matter what I pass in here, but doesn't like it. Can't find users Matthew. All right, let's go CFC. No, I don't want to search. Let's go Google CFC path with CFC dotted path with dashes. That's a terrible search. Okay. ColdFusion. I've had to deal with this before. But I don't remember what I had to do. I thought it was just putting it in quotes, and it might be, which would just be in script, the import statement, optional for most paths, surround a path in quotation marks if the directory has a hyphen. Okay, so now that is, I think that is what it is. So it does not, okay, let's add the CFC to the end because I am doing it from an actual file path. I don't think that's going to work though. There's going to be a way to do this, and I'm kind of beating my head against the wall that this isn't it. So MDD, module config, still broken. Invalid definition, can't find component. I mean, I know that that exists. Another directory that I'm in. I mean, and that's an absolute path on my machine. Let's see what else we have to work with CF here for getting component. CF docs, get component metadata, component clash here, component cache list, CF component. That's going to just generate the component metadata. Get application metadata, get component metadata, which is where I'm at. Get metadata. Problem with this is that I don't have that object. All right, well, I am running out of time, which is a bit frustrating. Component info returns meta information from the past component, like extends. Not there anymore. Get metadata we have. Get component. I feel like. Let's see CF stocks for this just to see if there's any other info there. Paths can be relative to the current directory or the web root. I wonder if it's the location. This function and the get metadata function return the same data. This function, however, it takes the path to the CFC interface and does not use or create an object instance. Also, this function can get data about CFCs and interfaces only, and you cannot specify an interface in get meta. So I think my issue is that is the location of this CFC, which makes me think that I need to put it somewhere relative to CommandBox, whatever my imaginary web root is, in order to have it be read. What do they do? Okay, so let's just look at this ORM CRUD method here, just to see. Get component entity content. All right. Entity CFC file system util make. All right, let's look at how, all right. Entity CFC file system util, make path relative, resolve path, replace. Haha, let's do this. You know what? Might be what we need in the last minute here. All right. Var entity CFC file system, make path relative, replace no case. And this is going to be path. Entity path is entity CFC and CFC. We'll pass in the entity path here. See if that works. Reload. And try it again. MDD, module config. Broken still, maybe different, invalid component definition. Can't find. All right, that's not what I expected. All right. That's not what I expected it to get. Resolve path, replace path dots slashes. All right, so the question is what, rather than just blindly copying here, what is coming in, oh, so they're reversing it, okay. But they want to make it relative. All right, so we already have our CF, so you know what we might do? All right. We are not going to do any replacing on this path because it's already good. We're going to resolve it, then we're going to make it relative, and we do not need to append CFC, so we're just going to call this. That's not a dotted path though. We make sure that the entity path exists. What do we get? Component that is on the CFC. Okay, entity CFC, make relative, resolve, replace, argument set entity. I don't see any other replacing happening there. Entity name, replace dots with slashes. All right, let's just try making it relative. And then we're going to wrap up because it's been an hour. We'll make it relative and we'll just call this, we'll just call it that because it doesn't matter right now if it doesn't work. All right, reload. One last try before we wrap this up. Still broken. Invalid component definition. That's a strange relative path that it's generating there. Root metadata. I'm going to have to look at what that function does. And what's actually getting passed into this command. Generate some CRUD goodness out of an ORM entity. The name and dot location path of an entity to create for CRUD starting with the root of your application. Okay. It's getting... All right, well, I'm going to have to come back and tackle this later. Seems my issue is just getting CommandBox to work out the proper path to the CFCs that I'm working with. One of the problems is probably, yeah, I'm not sure. I'm not sure how to get CommandBox to recognize where they are so that it can read the metadata So I'll have to dig into that a little bit more. It seems like basing it on whatever's going on in the ColdBox ORM scaffolding command is going to be the way to go, since I imagine that works. But I'm going to have to dive into it a little bit further before I can move this command forward. So that's it for the week. 6 o'clock, it's been an hour. Happy Friday. Hoping to take this up soon because I want to get this command done and use it. Have a great weekend. Bye.